Congressman Jimmy Panetta from California's 20th District, thank you for joining us.
Of course. Thanks, Spencer. I appreciate the opportunity.
For starters, can you tell us a little bit about your district and the kinds of agriculture we might find in it?
Oh, sure. Look, as the Ag Committee is going to get sick of me hearing, I'm from the salad bowl of the world. Basically the Salinas Valley, Pajaro Valley, San Juan Valleys. We have more specialty crops in my district than any other single state. So agriculture is hands down the #1 economic driver of that area, and I hope to be able to represent that and continue to promote that as much as I can here in Washington, D.C., there in California, and especially on the central coast of California where my district is located. It's got Monterey, Santa Cruz, San Benito, and just a little bit of Santa Clara counties. It's a very diverse district. You got the environment, you got agriculture, you have a mix of Democrats, Republicans, and all other political parties, but that's what makes it special. It's a unique district, it's the most beautiful in the world, and when it comes to its agriculture, I believe it's the most bountiful as well.
And one of the committees that you serve on here in Congress is the House Agriculture Committee.
Correct.
Being on that committee, what are some of the things that you'd like to accomplish in the 115th Congress, specifically as they relate to the House Ag Committee?
Sure. Well, look, I mean, as you probably know, and as most people know, it's going to be our responsibility to put together the Farm Bill for 2018. And so we've already started doing that. We've had a number of hearings ranging from anywhere from nutrition to research, horticulture, SNAP and FENI, and a bunch of areas that the Farm Bill focuses on, and we're going to continue to put that together. I enjoy my time on the Ag Committee. I enjoy the topic, the subject, not just because of its importance to the Central Coast, my district, because its importance to the country, but I also enjoy the people on both sides of the aisle that are on the Ag Committee. I really enjoy listening to them. Most importantly, I enjoy working with them, and I look forward to being able to work together, especially on the Farm Bill coming up. I think, one of the areas, as I mentioned, we have specialty crops in Salinas area. We have a research station there. And so it's making sure that they're represented in the Farm Bill, making sure that they're covered under the research element of the Farm Bill. But I'd also like to focus on not just a specialty crop research initiative for pesticides and things of that nature, but also for mechanization. I think that's important. Look, in our area with dealing with specialty crops, in order to get those crops out of the field, right onto the shelves and right into our mouths, it takes humans. And therefore, you talk to any grower in that area, they'll tell you labor is the #1 issue. Now, I realize the Ag Committee does not deal with immigration, but I think it's something that, one, we have to keep in mind, and two, we have to focus on and at least get the word out there that we have to revamp the H-2A visa process, but at the same time, we have to focus on mechanization. And I'd like to have a specialty crop research initiative when it comes to mechanization there for helping pick our crops. You go out in the fields now, and what machines are there? You ask where they're from Europe, Netherlands, Spain, because they've had to deal with labor issues, expensive labor. And so they've mechanized. But those machines can't handle the girth of agriculture in the United States. And so I believe it's up to us to come up with our own machines in order to do that, to make up for that lack of labor. We're going to have to do that sooner rather than later.
The other committee that you serve on being the Natural Resources Committee.
Correct.
Why is that combination of ag and natural resources important to your district?
Look at the 20th Congressional District. We have the environment with the beautiful coast and the waters that are there, and we have the agriculture as well. So it's, I believe that the two committees I'm on they represent the Central Coast of California. They represent the 20th Congressional District. And natural resources are very important to the people there. We have some federal lands there. We have some forests there that we need to work on maintaining and making sure that we can prevent the fires that we saw last year. We had the largest wildfire, most expensive wildfire in U.S. history. In the 20th Congressional Districts, the Soberanes fire. And so we need to make sure that we have enough resources, enough spending there to prevent fires like that.
Now, you personally have some experience in the military as well as some time as a deputy district attorney.
Correct.
I know you haven't been on the Hill for all that long, but how has that helped you already, that time in the military and that time working as in the district attorney's office?
Well, look, let me go beyond that, and it's that foundation of service. Growing up in my family, With my Italian immigrant grandfather, we always heard why he came here. And that was to basically give his children a better life. But my parents told us that, look, because we were allowed to live the reality of that American dream, that we damn well better give back to our country and community that gave us this opportunity. And so that's why I have served as a prosecutor, as a narcotics prosecutor in East Oakland, as a gang prosecutor in East Salinas, and as an intelligence officer in Eastern Afghanistan. And so it's given me, the foundation of continued service and what it means when you actually serve people, when you affect people's lives. In the courtroom, that helped me, but also in Afghanistan, and actually serving with the men and women of our armed services, the true heroes that are out there fighting the tip of the spear. I was honored to be there to help serve them. And being in this position, I have an understanding of what's important when it comes to our national security. And that's what I hope to continue to do as a representative of the Central Coast.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned your family, and obviously the name Leon Panetta means a lot here in Washington, D.C. I'm wondering, as you were going through the campaign, maybe after you had gotten elected, just at some point in this process, is there any particular piece of advice or any words of wisdom that he shared with you in terms of what to expect out of your time in Washington?
Yeah, sure. Well, look, I mean, being the son of Leon Panetta, it's something, look, that's my life. I get that, and I'm very proud of that. But at the same time, we grew up out on the Central Coast. We didn't grow up here in the Beltway. I'm a Carmel Valley kid, and I'm proud of that. And I love the fact that my daughters are going to be Carmel Valley kids. They're going to be going to they go to the same schools that I went to, which is great. They're going to have that same sense of belonging, and that's important. And because I want them to be Siri and Gia Panetta. I don't want them to be known as Jimmy's kids, just like I wasn't known as Leon's kid back home. I was known as Jimmy Panetta. And so, look, growing up, the advice they told me is not about your last name, it's about your first name. And that's what I'm going to continue to do here, make sure that it's about Jimmy. And that's, but I also know what that takes. You can't just float in here and expect things to happen. It takes a lot of hard work to establish your own name and establish the respect that's necessary to get things done, and most importantly, the relationships that are important to get things done. And so, he obviously mentioned that it's about relationships here in Washington, D.C. on both sides of the aisle. My locker this morning was right next to Duncan Hunter's, Republican congressman from down south. His father served with my father, and I was here, and I'll never forget this, I was here in second grade. And I remember, and at that time you're figuring out Republicans and Democrats and the differences and kind of watching things and move along. And I remember seeing we were in the bottom of this building right here in the basement and in the parking garage. And Duncan Hunter Sr. was backing out of his car, and he pulled over, and he and my father had a very collegial, cordial, friendly conversation. They were joking with one another. And I remember walking away going, "He's a Democrat, right, Dad?" Dad said, "No, he's a Republican." But that's how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be able to, respect each other, respect who they are, not just because they're at different parties, but it's about the person, not the party. And that's how it is here. And that's what I believe, especially the freshman class that are incoming here to Washington, D.C. We understand it's about the people, it's about relationships, and most importantly, it's about getting things done together. And that's definitely what happened back in the days when my father was here, and we hope to continue that tradition. That's incumbent upon us. It's a responsibility that we get things done and we do it together.
Earlier you talked about that need and that desire for public service within your family. And obviously, working as a prosecutor and things like that, I mean, you've done that in that and in the military. For you, why was Congress the best extension of that public service?
Yeah, look, it was, I didn't know I was going to do this. Okay, I was meeting with a bunch of high school kids the other day, and I said, look, when I was your age, I had no idea I'd be standing in front of you as your representative. But the fact is, I always had a sense of service based on what I said before. And you realize that, growing up in that area, that people were actually affected by the service of their Congress members. Because to this day, people come up to me and tell me stories, not about the work that their Congress member did for them back here, but about the service that affected their lives back on the Central Coast. I'll give you two stories that are great. One was a strawberry farmer came up to me in Watsonville, and he said, Jimmy, I got to tell you something. I know you're running for Congress, but let me tell you something about what the Congress member did for me. Back in the floods of the early 80s, my farm was wiped out. I didn't know what to do. I contacted my congressman's office. he put in a call to the SBA to get me a loan. 3 months later, I got that loan. Look at me now. Because of that loan, I'm the biggest strawberry farmer in Watsonville. I mean, it's that, you know, he just by giving him that opportunity. Literally 3 months after that story, I was at the Strawberry Festival in Watsonville. And this Latino gentleman comes up to me and he says, Jimmy, I got to tell you a story. He said, you know, your dad, when he was a congressman, he saved my marriage. I was like, what, exactly? Your look was like my look. Like, what are you talking about? And now, you know, people are, I'm like, okay. He's like, no, I got to tell you this. Okay. It's like, I was a migrant farm worker working in the fields, and I was on my way to getting my citizenship. And I had met my fiance at the time. She was from Nicaragua. I was from Mexico. She was from Nicaragua. And she was about to be deported. And we didn't know what to do. So we went to our congressman's office. Our congressman helped her get her on the pathway to citizenship. We got married because of that as well. So I thank you. And it was funny because he ended up going on and telling me, he said, she ended up leaving me. And I literally said, why did you tell me that story? What are you telling me? He said, that's not the point. The point is that when we needed something that dealt with a federal issue, we went to our congressman's office and he helped us. That's the point, and remember that. And that's what it's about. To me, that's what this job's about. Policy is important. It's very important. But let me tell you, it's the people. We're here to represent the people on the Central Coast, to help them, to be that bridge from the Central Coast to Washington, D.C. and back. That's my #1 priority. People of the Central Coast, I think, saw that during the campaign, and they're going to continue to experience that during my time representing them.
Congressman Jimmy Panetta, thanks for joining us.
Of course, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.